Hi everyone! So as the title says, today I'm gonna be showing you how I usually do my eye makeup, and this is specifically for people who have eye shapes like me, so more Asian eyes, the kind of eyes that are flat, because like all those Caucasian eyes which are so beautiful but they have like the socket that sinks in, whereas my eyes are flat, it doesn't sink in, there's really not much space between the actual eyelid and the eyebrow, and it's slightly droopy on the sides as well. Not really a lot, but just a tiny bit. So I'm just gonna show you how I usually do my eye makeup. Now, depending on your eye shape, it could be different. Hopefully there's something here that could help you. But yeah, let's just get started. Okay, I'm gonna get started with just putting a little bit of eye primer on. This is my Too Faced Shadow Insurance. And I'm gonna put a little bit of this underneath the eyes as well, because I find that with my eye shape and most Asian eyes, the bottom bit here is actually a little bit more puffy, so when you blink, the top lashes actually touches the bottom bit and then things get smudged underneath here. So that's why I'm putting an eye primer down there. Okay, once I have that eye primer on, next I'm just going to go in with a little bit of light concealer, and I'm actually going to conceal this area here, if that makes sense, like this little bit here, because what I found is that a lot of Asian eyes have this small little triangular bit. Can you see? This small little triangular bit that casts a shadow towards the end of the bottom eye. So it makes it look like your eyes is drooping a little bit, even though it might not be, and blend it out. I mean, you can do this any time of your routine. Like, you can do it together with your concealer. You don't necessarily have to do it after your eye primer. And once I have my concealer on, I'm just going in with my Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. And you want to make sure you do set that concealer, but the main reason you want to put it underneath the eye where you've applied the concealer is because, as I've mentioned, when the top lashes touches the bottom one, if it's not a dry surface or a powdered surface, it's easier for the mascara, the eyeliner to run. If it's dry and powdered, the tendency for those products to run, it may still happen, but it'll take a longer time for it to actually happen, or sometimes prevent it at all, depending on your eye shape. Introducing a few brushes. I find that for the lid work, because I don't have a lot of space, like even my lid itself, like, okay, let's call this bit the fold, because my actual crease is actually up here, like this is where my socket sinks in. It's actually above the fold. So when I do my makeup, if I know that day I'm not wearing lashes, all my eyeshadows are actually going to be based around the fold, not the crease. Now, if I know I'm going to be putting lashes on, then I'll move my eyeshadows actually upwards and base it around the crease. The reason I do that is because when I don't have false eyelashes on, my natural lashes are just the regular Asian short ones. So if I blend my eyeshadows all the way up to the crease, when I put my mascara on, and when you take a picture, all you're going to see is the eyeshadow. You're actually not going to see much eyelashes, and it's just going to look a little bit funny because there's just way too much eyeshadow going on. So my eyeshadow techniques and placement depends on whether I put false eyelashes on or not. So maybe that's one thing you can take into consideration. So today is going to be all about no eyelashes because it's more of a natural day-to-day look. These are a few brushes that I will show you. But in terms of lid work, I prefer to use things that look like these. This is a 3 Concept Eyes one. So this is a round fluffy one. This is a Hakuhodo. It's sort of like flat and tapered, so it's basically like the MAC 217s or the Zoeva 227s. This is a pointed crease brush, so it's pointed to the tip, but it's fluffy at the sides here, so you can actually blend it still. And then you have this one, which is like a soft, fluffy blending brush, which is similar to this, just a little bit longer. So all of these are actually not like large eye powder brushes. They're actually decently sized for my eyes, so picking the right brush makes a difference to how your eyeshadow applies. If you get something that's too big, especially for Asian eyes, it just makes you look like you have a black eye. And on top of that, I also use quite a lot of bullet brushes or pencil brushes. This one is the Makeup Geek one. It's slightly bigger. This is just a regular Coastal Scents bullet brush. This is more like the standard size. And this is a teeny weeny one from Makeup Geek. With bullet brushes, I have a few options for them. I either use it to place color in the crease, because sometimes fluffy brushes can still be too big for my eyes, or I use it to place color underneath the lower lash line. Because if I use anything fluffy on the lower lash line, things tend to get blended too far down. I'm going to be using my Too Faced Chocolate Bar palette today. So I'm going to start off with, I'm going to use this Hakuhodo one. So it's basically the MAC 217s, the fluffy blending tapered brush. I'm just going to get this matte cream color, which is like a base eye color. I'm going to place this all the way on the main lid and all the way to the brow bone. Now, while we're talking about brow bones, for some others, especially Asian eyes, theirs are actually quite puffy here. Like mine is flat, but I've seen others where it's puffy. So when it's puffy, you don't want to put anything shimmery on there because it's just going to bring the puffiness forward again. So I tend to use a matte brow bone highlight, so like a skin tone color or something that's maybe a fraction lighter, and place it right there. If I'm going to use something shimmery, that's fine as well. It's not like I can't, but let's say, okay, this one's a shimmery color. I'm just going to grab that. I'm going to use a tiny brush and only place the shimmery bit right underneath the arch of the brow. That's it. And I might even go back with my blending brush and blend that out, just so it's a little softer. I will definitely not place the shimmery bit all around here. That's just going to accentuate the puffiness, and I don't want that. Okay, moving on to the blending color now. So I'm going to take this one here. It's just like a medium tone brown that I'm going to use as a blending color. So I'm using the same Hakuhodo brush again. I'm going to place this where my fold is and just maybe like 2 millimeters above it. So where I'm going to lift my brows a little bit. So I'm just placing this where my fold is. And then once the color is on, I'll go into a relaxed mode and take a look forward and see where the color is. I want that color to be visible when my eyes are actually in the resting state. So now you can see that it is visible, but it's not blended too far up, because if you go too far up, it's basically under my brows already. And you want to make sure as well that you don't bring this color too far down here. Like if you think about your eyes having a horizontal line from this inner corner to the outer corner and all the way straight like that, so a line, you don't want to bring that blending color, or any color for that matter, past that line. Because especially for Asian eyes, since we have that triangular shade here that makes the eyes a little bit droopy, if you bring any color from here all the way down there, it's just going to bring the eyes downwards again. It's just going to make it look even droopier. Okay, once I have the blending color on, I'll probably go in with a darker color. That's generally what I do. I'll put a darker color towards the outer corner V here. And I'm going to switch over to a more pointed brush. So this is the Zoeva 231 Luxe Petit Crease. So it's basically to fit into the crease. You can use a bullet brush for this as well. I've done that. Semi-sweet, this one here. And once again, lifting my eyes a little bit upwards and putting it where the fold is. Putting it there first and then bringing it downwards to the end of the eye in a sideways V. Now when I'm doing this, I'm making sure once again not to bring the eyeshadow too far down. Now you have to imagine another imaginary line from the edge of your lower lash line here. If you were to imagine it curving up all the way to the tips of your brows, you don't want to bring that darkness past this angle, like this 45-degree angle. So eyeshadow is going to be in a V shape like that, following this angle. Does that make sense? Basically, that's how your V is going to look like. So you can go back in with the blending brush and blend that darker color. Okay, once you have those colors on, I'm going to actually put the same dark color on the lower lash line. But with the lower lash line, you have to be quite careful. Like I said, because we have that dark patch here, what you don't want to focus on is putting more darkness there. It's kind of like with the top brow bone highlight as well. Because it's already puffy, you don't want to put more shimmery stuff. So this is because it's already dark, you don't want to put more darkness on there. So what you want to do if you're thinking about putting eyeshadow on the bottom lower lash line is not just to put the dark eyeshadow here. If you shade too much here, it's going to just make your eye shape look like it's going downwards. So if you're going to put a darker color on, make sure it's quite a thin one, not shading that whole triangular bit, but make sure it's just a little bit of a thin one and bring it all the way in. So you can also connect this bottom darker color to the V from the top outer one. And now I'm just going to take this shimmery color, which is like a pale champagne shimmery color. I'm just going to put that on the main lid. Now this doesn't have much complication to it. So it's just putting it on the center. Now my eyes aren't really hooded, so I'm lucky in that sense. But if you have slightly hooded eyes, what you're going to have to do is bring the shimmery shade up more so that when you have your eyes open, you can actually view the shimmery shade. Because if you just put it on your lid, when you relax your eyes or you look forward, you're not really going to see it because the top is just going to cover the lid. So I'm bringing it up a bit just to show you. I'm bringing it past my fold a tiny bit so you can actually see the shimmery shade past my fold. And the same thing applies to the blending color when you're working with a hooded eye. You want to bring it so that it's past the hooded fold so that when you have your eyes open, you can see the blended color. And I'm just highlighting the inner corners now with the same lid color. And one thing that I like to do with the highlight, inner corner highlight, is I actually like to bring it to the 1/3 of the inner lower lash line. I'm going to be using just a gel liner because I find that that's just what I prefer. I'm going to use an angle brush, but feel free to use whatever you're comfortable with. Because when I'm doing my eyeliner, I'm going to be lifting my eyes as well and then doing the liner. I have to bear in mind that when I go back into the relaxed state, the liner angle is going to drop down a little bit because I've lifted it when I'm putting it on. But at the same time, I'm not putting the angle too far angled upwards. Because I find that a lot of the wing liners that angle way too far up doesn't suit my eye shape. Because if I put it too far up, when I connect the liner back to the main lid, it just covers the whole lid. And that way it doesn't look like I have a fold anymore. It just looks like I have single eyelids and I'm just covering the whole thing with black liner. So, I mean, that's another makeup style, you know. That looks good too on certain days. But on days when I want something more natural, I avoid that. So my eyeliner actually extends horizontally out when I'm looking straight forward. I lift my eyes up a little bit. And where the ends of my eyes is, I draw the tail out with a slight upward angle, maybe like 10 degrees, 20 degrees. It's not a 45 degree. Almost like basically following the lower lash line upwards, but slightly lower. Draw that out, and then I'll connect it back towards inside. And I make sure to tight line as well. And I find that for droopy eyes it's the same thing. Tight lining makes such a big difference because sometimes you don't have the lip space to put eyeliner on, you can't see it at all. So tight lining is the one that makes the difference. So just lifting the eye up and lining that fleshy bit there. So you can see from this side of the liner, it's not too thin that you can't see it, but it's not thick to the point that it covers the whole eyelid. And it's going horizontally outwards. The outer corners of the wing here is a lot thicker than the inner corners. Next, I'm gonna be curling my eyelashes. Next, I'm gonna be using Maybelline Falsies Waterproof Mascara. Now that the mascara is on, you can see why I don't line my lashes like way thick, because my lashes aren't super long. So at this thickness, you can still see my lashes once I have mascara on. If I go any thicker, you won't see my natural eyelashes, then I'll have to put a false pair on, and then that's not natural anymore. I find that I always have to sort of like step back a little bit, take a look and see if I need to make any more changes. This is sort of the gist of what I would do when I'm going for a natural eye look. I know it's quite a lot of things in there. Probably it's common knowledge. I hope though that there was something that will help someone out there. Thank you for watching my videos. See you in the next one. Bye!